Welcome to Living Life. Today, our passage is from the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 6. First, a little background on Ecclesiastes. The speaker in Ecclesiastes calls himself Qoheleth, rendered the preacher or the teacher in most English versions. The term occurs nowhere else in Hebrew writings. After the preface in chapter 1, the speaker introduces himself again and recounts his own experience in searching for meaning. At the outset, he had a noble ambition for wisdom and discipline, but all he had attained to was emptiness and perplexity of mind. And this has been translated as vanity or vexation of spirit, or vanity and chasing after the wind. Finding no adequate satisfaction in the pursuits of the scholar and wisdom teacher, the speaker seeks to combine these with the pursuit of pleasure, both that which comes from external stimuli and that which arises from his own enterprise and achievement. Again, he attains only emptiness and perplexity of spirit. A concluding paragraph puts wisdom ahead of pleasure, but realizes that inevitable and ubiquitous death finally reduces wise person and the fool to the same end. There is no solution but to view the problem in light of God's purpose for humanity, that there is no greater good for a person than to eat and drink and cause his or her soul to see good in their labor. We see this at the end of chapter 2.
Ecclesiastes, chapter 6, verses 1 through 12. I have seen another evil under the sun, and it weighs heavily on mankind. God gives some people wealth, possessions, and honor, so that they lack nothing their hearts desire. But God does not grant them the ability to enjoy them, and strangers enjoy them instead. This is meaningless, a grievous evil. A man may have 100 children and live many years, yet no matter how long he lives, if he cannot enjoy his prosperity and does not receive a proper burial, I say that a stillborn child is better off than he. It comes without meaning, it departs in darkness, and in darkness its name is shrouded. Though it never saw the sun or knew anything, it has more rest than does that man. Even if he lives 1,000 years, twice over, but fails to enjoy his prosperity, do not all go to the same place? Everyone's toil is for their mouth, yet their appetite is never satisfied. What advantage have the wise over fools? What do the poor gain by knowing how to conduct themselves before others? Better what the eye sees than the roving of the appetite. This too is meaningless, a chasing after the wind. Whatever exists has already been named, and what humanity is has been known. No one can contend with someone who is stronger. The more the words, the less the meaning. And how does that profit anyone? For who knows what is good for a person in life during the few and meaningless days they pass through like a shadow? Who can tell them what will happen under the sun after they are gone?
Qoheleth is a believer. Though he considers nihilism, hedonism, or determinism, and each system has its appeal, in the background is a solid faith in a God who is often hidden. Qoheleth's conclusions, often set over against his sharply contrasting and pessimistic speculation, convince him that life is still worth living, even in the worst of times. Qoheleth's life may contain a host of unanswered and unanswerable questions, but his God is consistent. Qoheleth's speculations may have a lot of resonance today in our era, where many have embraced deconstructionism and postmodernity. William Yeats's poem, The Second Coming, which contains the lines, "Things fall apart and the center cannot hold," could be the rallying cry for many in this time and place for whom there is no concerted coherence in the universe. Chapter 6 continues these themes. We see an evil that lies heavy upon humankind. Those to whom God, and notice Koheleth's reference to God, gives wealth, possessions, and honor, God does not enable them to enjoy these things, but a stranger enjoys them. This is a vanity, Koheleth tells us. If a person does not enjoy life's good things, life is vanity and goes into darkness. This we see in verse 4. Even though one could live 1,000 years twice over, do not all go to the same place, one place, Koheleth pleads. Verse 8 asks us, what advantage have the wise over fools? And even if we toil for food, our appetite is never satisfied, we read in verse 7. And finally, in verse 12, Koheleth laments, who knows what is good for mortals while they live the few days of their vain life, which they pass like a shadow. I love that Ecclesiastes is in the Bible. Christians can be criticized for having too closed of a faith system and a worldview. People complain that we are believers in a fairy tale, one that we believe in like automatons. And while there are surely simple faiths and simple people in our midst, and thank God for them, the presence of Koheleth in our scripture alerts us to the complexity of life, the complexity of our faith, and the many, many lenses through which we can view our experience. And the Christian faith encourages this exploration. Is everything vanity? What are we to think of wealth and possessions and wisdom and foolishness and striving? Does it all really matter? Do not all go to one place, as our passage says? The next time someone tells you that the Christian faith has easy answers, please point them to Ecclesiastes. We do not. Though we believe in the main tenets of the Christian faith, these questions of Ecclesiastes are a part of our sacred story as well. Has there not been a time when many of us have wondered, does anything really matter? Am I not going to the grave? What is the purpose of goodness and belief if everything is meaningless? You may be in a place in your life where the questions of Ecclesiastes are running thick and heavy. Ecclesiastes may capture perfectly how you feel and what you are thinking. And can I say, as a pastor, it's okay. It's okay to think and wonder these things and still be a part of our community. To quote another English poet, T.S. Eliot, he said, we shall not cease from exploration. Keep exploring, those of you with fertile minds and hard questions. The Christian faith can take it. I would not be here if I thought the Christian faith did not hold enough water intellectually or could not stand up to questioning. If we believe Christianity to be the truth, then it surely can handle critiques, wonderings, loathing, and questioning. To continue quoting from the same poem, The Four Quartets by T.S. Eliot, it continues, and the end of all our exploring will be to arrive where we started and know the place for the first time. I mentioned earlier that Koheleth never wavers in his acknowledgement of God. He may question what God does and if anything really matters. But perhaps for you and I, arriving back at the place where we started After exploring and questioning, just like Koheleth, we are led back to the God who is the author of life. And like the prodigal son, we may explore and exhaust ourselves and find ourselves running back to the arms of divine love, quite unsure about all the answers. The thing is, no one has a perfect answer to all of life's perplexing questions. Not materialists, not hedonists, not nihilists. Sure, Christianity has baggage and has sometimes bludgeoned those who have questioned and pushed its boundaries. But every belief system has baggage and unwritten rules that cannot be crossed. Though Christianity initially punished Galileo for his heretical teachings about the universe, eventually Galileo's views were accepted that, yes, indeed, the earth does revolve around the sun. You may find yourself awash in questions or critiques about Christianity, but there is someone or a book or a podcast that can reflect thoughtfully on your points. It may not answer everything, but I'm confident that a coherent and rational explanation can be presented. So I say, keep questioning, keep inquiring, keep pushing, keep exploring. Our faith needs to be sharpened by exploration. And remember that Koheleth himself says in Ecclesiastes 8:12, I know that it will be well with those who fear God. A robust faith that can stand up to questioning is possible. May we be faithful people in this postmodern world who aren't afraid to ask, who knows what is good for mortals? I'm trusting that in the end, we will be closer to the truth by following our Creator than by ignoring our Creator. Thanks be to God.